Folks, if I could get you all to start moving towards your seat. Before we start our meeting tonight, we've got a little 3-minute video we'd like to show you. Thank you.
We started our Caring for Kids program that provides weekend meals to children in need. The donation we got from Operation Roundup came at a time we were going to have a huge shortfall, and so that grant for us made us able to continue the program and not have to drop any students from the program. And I am extremely thankful to the customers that contribute to the Operation Roundup because it had such a tremendous impact, and it seems like such a small thing to do, but it makes a huge difference in the lives of the children that we're helping here in Orange County.
This is our annual Get Connected event. We do it each year. Being part of the community is part of our vision and what we're all about.
It's just been a good day. Good food, good people, plenty of funny prizes, good service, the nicest people. What more could you ask for?
We've been members of Rappahannock Electric Cooperative nearly 50 years. It's just wonderful. We have to learn a little bit more about the co-op and enjoying seeing some friends and neighbors. And we just thank you very much for making this opportunity available to us.
We have 4 libraries in the county, and Ladysmith Branch is one of our locations. Ladysmith is a growing community. It has a lot of young families with children, so I thought AWE Literacy Machine is perfect, and what it does is it actually teaches early literacy skills to pre-K and kindergarten and first grade students. Caroline Library and me personally would really like to thank Rappahannock and its membership that have participated in Operation Roundup for providing this grant opportunity for the library.
Safety is REC's first priority, and a topic that we like to communicate to the first responders in our communities. The Liveline Safety Demonstration is used primarily for educating first responders about the potential perils of mishandling electric equipment and to reinforce the importance of communication between the cooperative and EMS in times of emergencies. The trailer is capable of showing arcs, line faults, generator bag feed, recloser operation, fuse operation, right-of-way issues, and the use of personal protective gear.
Families Reaching Out Group is a nonprofit that was established mainly to help foster children.
There's a nice big room upstairs, so we came up with a concept.
The project is going to be called the Lily Pad, and we're going to be able to have birthday parties for foster children, Christmas parties, Easter parties. We can do some fundraising up there.
So I went online, found the Operation Roundup website. When I learned about the program, I was amazed. I'd never heard about anything like this. And it's so easy to do, to just round up your bill, and then the community benefits. So we are extremely appreciative to all the members for doing that.
It's amazing what the power of change has been able to do for our organization.
Good evening, everyone. And you'll have to forgive me if my voice goes. I've been fighting laryngitis, so maybe that would be a good thing. On behalf of your board of directors, it is my pleasure to welcome our members, guests, and employees to Rappahannock Electric Cooperative's annual meeting. I'm Darlene Carpenter, chairman of the board, and your director from Region 3. Along with REC's leadership team, we thank you for taking time to be with us tonight. At this time, I will call the 2017 annual business meeting to order, and I ask Mark Wood, the director from Louisa County, to offer our invocation and memorial of service.
Before we go to our invocation, in honor of those in our cooperative family who have passed away within the past year, please join me for a moment of reflection and remembrance for our friends and anyone you wish to keep in your thoughts and prayers. From our board of directors, William M. Alphin, Culpeper County, Nash Johnston, Spotsylvania County, William E. Lane, Essex County, and our employees and retirees, William Lambert, Utility Person 2, Jerry Sale, Utility Person 3, Irvin Breeden, First Class Serviceman, Richard Brown, First Class Lineman, and Kelly Hahn, Business Applications Administrator. Will you pause for a moment of silence, please? Dear Heavenly Father, we just come before you this evening, Lord. We just pray for your blessing to be upon us, Lord, as it has been in the past, Lord. And Lord, we just think of some of the scriptures and wisdom in it, Lord, and I go back to Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not into thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. And Lord, as we come before you this evening, Lord, REC is such a great organization, and you've blessed us so much, Lord, and we just humbly pray before you, just asking for your continued guidance, Lord, to help lead us in the right direction, Lord. We just ask for wisdom from our leadership, Lord, and we just pray that you'll just give us the courage to step out and take on new initiatives, Lord, that will be benefit to all of our member owners. And Lord, we just pray that you'll just give us endurance. Sometimes we can get tired of running the race, Lord. Just pray you'll just give us endurance to stay and steadfast and to seek your will and to do what is right and good in your sight. And Lord, we just pray you'll give us honesty, Lord, that we'll be honest with our member owners and all that we encounter, Lord, and be a good reflection on you and REC. And Lord, we just pray you'll give us sincerity, just give us patience to be steadfast and to seek your will and your way, Lord. And just pray for your blessing to be upon us, Lord, and be upon all our leadership. Just pray you'll give us wisdom. Just pray you'll be with our member owners. Just bless them in a special way. Just pray you'll continue for REC to continue to thrive and prosper. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. At this time, Evan Polk from Hanover County will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Pop? Okay. Thank you for being with us. Will you stand with me, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May God bless America.
Thank you, Evan. We are very proud of student leaders in our community. Evan is one of REC's 7 Youth Tour students from across REC's service territory who visited Washington, D.C. earlier this summer to learn about the legislative process and see democracy in action. Thank you for being with us today, Evan. At this time, I'm going to ask Kent Farmer. Did you want to come introduce our special guest?
Sure.
I think I actually had you on first.
That's quite all right.
Okay. Kent Farmer, a Chief Executive Officer and President of REC, is going to introduce our special guest and make a few comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome everyone to REC's 2017 annual meeting. As Mrs. Carpenter said, at all of our annual meetings, all of you all are special guests, but we have some that we just want to make sure that we recognize as being here. If you would, please hold your applause until after I've introduced these folks. First, from Congressman Bratt's office, Chris Snyder. Chris, thank you for being here. From our Care Charity Board of Directors, Donna Douglas and Jean Campbell. Thank you all for being here as well. Our youth tour students, in addition to Evan, we also have Niall Lowry and Mackenzie Smith. Where are you folks? Thank you all for being here as well. From our wholesale power supplier, Old Dominion, Bob Keys. Bob is the Chief Financial Officer at Old Dominion. And from our Virginia, Maryland, Delaware Association of Electric Cooperatives, we have Richard Johnstone, who is the President and CEO. We have Brian Mosier, who is the Vice President of Governmental Affairs. Bill Sherrod, the Vice President of Communications and Public Relations. Mary Howell, Manager of Communications and Public Relations. And we also have Herbert Patrick. Herbert is the Vice Chair of the Virginia, Maryland, Delaware Board, but Herbert is also a board member for Prince George Electric Cooperative. And also we have Debbie Swiderski, who is a Vice President of Educational Services from our association office. Our tellers committee for the evening are volunteers to help us with our vote counting. Mr. Dudley Rinker is here. Thank you, Dudley, again for volunteering this year. And Mr. David Carter. Thank you, David. We appreciate it. Just a few other folks I want to introduce, and if I mess up the names, I apologize. Kelly Deleski is our sign language interpreter for the evening. Kelly, thank you again for being here this year. It is always a pleasure to have you participate in our annual meeting. We also have Kelly Ray Denke, is the General Motors Business Development Manager for Fleet. As you all have noticed, our new electric vehicle we've got on display here. And John Freaking is also with General Motors with their fleet and commercial. So let's give all of these people a round of applause. And inevitably, I always forget this when I'm introducing our special guests, but we have some retired employees that are here with us tonight. So if our retired employees will stand, it is certainly an honor to have you folks come back to our annual meeting. So thank you all.
Each year I look forward to this meeting as a time to reflect on all that was accomplished during the prior year. I'm pleased to say that Rappahannock Electric Cooperative finished the year of 2016 successful in a strong financial conditions and initiatives that will afford the organization continued success well into the future. I will speak more about the initiatives during the chairman's report. Before we move further on the agenda, I have a resolution of appreciation to present to Richard Oliver. Richard Oliver has served on the REC board for almost 21 years. Mr. Oliver, whose term ends in 2017, chose not to seek re-election. Richard Oliver, Rick, would you please join me and Kent Farmer I'm fighting a little laryngitis, so I'm going to try to read this. It's very important. So if I fail, I'll turn it over to Kent. This is a resolution of appreciation and thanks to Richard C. Oliver. Whereas on August 10, 2017, Richard Oliver will complete his tenure on the Board of Directors of Rappahannock Electric Cooperative, having faithfully and conscientiously fulfilled his responsibilities as a board member, and whereas he has admirably served the electric cooperative program for almost 21 years, providing strong leadership, hard work, dedication, and whereas he's given generously of his time and energy to his duties, making thoughtful contributions to the board meetings, always acting in the highest tradition of service in all matters supporting of the need to sustain and enhance rural electrification. And whereas he's been an avid advocate of Rappahannock Electric Cooperative with a firm commitment to its mission, a deep concern for the welfare of its members and employees, and a resolute desire to provide dependable and affordable electricity. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Directors of Rappahannock Electric Cooperative convey to Richard C. Oliver their heartfelt appreciation of his unflagging support of the electric cooperative program and for his superb contributions to the cooperative as a respected board member and friend. Be it further resolved that the Board of Directors extend to Rick their best wishes for the future and present this resolution as an expression of the board's warmest regard and lasting friendship. Rappahannock Electric Board of Directors, William C. Frazier, Linda Gray, John Lavasser, Michael Lindsay, Christopher Scheidt, Mark Good, and Darlene Carpenter. Thank you. Richard Oliver for a wonderful job.
It's really easy to do the best you can for an organization like this. It's the best I've ever seen.
Rick, I just have to say again, on behalf of the cooperative staff and membership, thank you for your dedication, loyalty, and service. We also want to pause to recognize two great leaders of our cooperative, Mr. William Offen and Mr. William Lane. As you heard during the Memorial of Silence, this year brought some very sad events with the loss of two of our treasured directors. We want to pause to recognize these two great leaders and some of their contributions to our cooperative. Mr. Bill Offen from our Culpeper County region. Bill was a man with few equals. His commitment to representing REC members and his love for people was contagious. We all learned from him during his 40 years of service on the board, and those who served with him will certainly miss all those years of his experience and dedication and loyalty to us. Another great man, Mr. William E. Lane Sr. William from our Essex County region had a love for agriculture and rural American farmers that was just as inspiring. In his over 30 years on the Board of Directors, we relied on his steady and thoughtful guidance. It was our honor to serve with them and so tonight we remember them and thank their families for their long-standing commitment and dedication to the cooperative spirit and to this cooperative. These wonderful men are greatly missed, and the board will work hard to continue their legacy. In the latter part of 2016, the board focused on the cooperative strategic initiative of continuity and efficiency. We agreed to establish a process whereby the number of directors would be reduced from 11 back to 9 directors. Work has taken place since then, and the first interim step occurs tonight in the director elections, which reflects the combining of regions served by Mr. Oliver and Mr. Offen. That new region is Region 1 on tonight's ballot. The board, in accordance with the bylaws, Article 4, Section 7 will fill the vacancy resulting from Mr. Lane's passing. An announcement will be published in the September issue of Cooperative Living Magazine and local area newspapers. Further work takes place soon to modify the geographic boundaries, which will then accomplish the goal of returning the directors to 9, with geographic regions representative of our 22-county service area. We're dedicated to providing strong leadership as advocates acting on your behalf. Thank you for allowing time to recognize these leaders of the cooperative. I will now call on Charlie Payne to facilitate the business meeting and the elections. Mr. Payne?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome to our annual Rappahannock Electric Cooperative meeting. Hope you're all having a good evening. My name is Charlie Payne. As the chair stated, I'm the general counsel for Rappahannock Electric Cooperative, and I'm going to be your parliamentarian this evening for purposes of the election. Which basically means I'm going to be overseeing the election process. I was looking for some funny jokes online about Robert's rules because the election process in this meeting is being operated under Robert's rules, but there's nothing funny about Robert's rules, obviously, because I couldn't find anything online. But I found plenty of lawyer jokes, but I'll spare you from having to listen to those jokes. I have the pleasure and the privilege of serving your cooperative, and I also have the pleasure and privilege of introducing your current board of director members. I'm going to announce their names and ask them to stand, but if you could please hold your applause till the end, it'd be very much appreciated. First, our chair, Darlene H. Carpenter of Riva in Madison County, Region 3. Brigadier General U.S. Army retired John C. Levasseur, Spotsylvania County, Region 4. J. Mark Wood of Mineral in Louisa County, Region 5. Mr. Wood. William C. Frazier of Montpelier in Hanover County, Region 6. He was unable to attend this evening. Richard C. Oliver of Orange County, Region 7. Linda R. Gray, our Secretary of Milford in Caroline County, Region 8. Christopher G. Shipe, our Vice Chairman of Berryville in Clark County, Region 10. And last but not least, Michael W. Lindsay of Winchester and Frederick County, Region 11. Big round of applause for our board members. Thank you all for your service to the cooperative. I also have the privilege of introducing our executive team. First, our President and CEO, Mr. Kent Farmer. Our Vice President of Engineering and Operations, Mr. Ron W. Harris. Our Vice President for Corporate Services, John D. Hua. Our Vice President, Member and External Relations, David F. Kugler. And the real boss, our Assistant Secretary, Deanna C. Kurz. Big round of applause. Thank you. And now next on our agenda is the Secretary's report. I call Ms. Gray up for the report.
Good evening. The first 3 items as prescribed in the bylaws, Article 3, Section 7, Order of Business, are as follows. Determination of a quorum. According to Article 3, Section 4 of the bylaws of the cooperative, 2 1/2% of the members present in person or by proxy is required for a quorum. Proxies were mailed to 135,267 active accounts beginning on July 1st, 2017. 2 1/2% of that figure is 3,382. Whereas there are 59 members present today and 6,058 members are represented by their proxy, we do have a quorum. Reading of the official meeting notice and proof of the publication. The annual meeting of members of Rappahannock Electric Cooperative will be held on Thursday, August 10th, 2017, at Fredericksburg Conference Center, located at 2371 Carl D. Silver Parkway in Fredericksburg. Registration will begin at 6 o'clock p.m. The business meeting will begin at 7 o'clock p.m. Notification of the annual meeting of members was included in the mailing of the registration and proxy cards to all members in July via Cooperative Living magazine. Announcements were also distributed with the electric service bills. Reading of the unapproved minutes of the previous meeting of members and the taking of necessary action thereon. Copies of the minutes of last year's annual meeting are available, so please see any staff member. I would read the minutes aloud, although it will take some time, but in the interest of saving time, I will now entertain a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the 2016 annual meeting and approve the minutes as written. Do I hear a motion? Is there a second to the motion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Now on to the election, which is next on our agenda. I'll go through a brief overview of the election process and then introduce you to the candidates. Nominations are accomplished by written petition that must be signed by no less than 25 REC members and submitted to the co-op no less than 100 days prior to the annual meeting. All nominees are then publicized in the July Cooperative Living magazine. Since all nominations are accomplished well in advance, there will be no nominations from the floor this evening. With the 2017 director elections, there are now 10 board regions. The vacant Region 1 consists of Orange and Culpeper counties and has 4 candidates, who I will introduce here in a bit. Region 4, consisting of Spotsylvania County, has 3 candidates, who will also introduce. Directors are elected for a 3-year term to provide the continuity of experience and leadership on your board of directors. Now we'll introduce the candidates. The candidates are Region 1, Larry A. Horner; Region 1, David M. Jones; Region 1, Michael F. Murphy; and Region 1, Sanford Reeves, Jr. For Region 4, Anthony S. Bastinelli; our incumbent, John C. Lavasser; and Jesse Randy Thomas. As part of this process, we also have our teller committee that has been appointed by the board to oversee the election, balloting, and the tally process. The tellers committee is composed of the cooperative members. Tellers will oversee the balloting process during the business session and closely observe the distribution of the ballots, the tallying of the ballots, and the entire voting process in general. After all the ballots have been tallied, the tellers are asked to sign a form certifying that the voting procedure was handled properly in accordance with our bylaws. Our teller committee members are, and thank you for your service. If you please stand, we'll recognize you. Dudley Rinker of Frederick County. Thank you, Mr. Rinker. And Dave Carter of Caroline County. Thank you, Mr. Carter. In addition to our tellers committee, we do have our auditing firm here with us. Adams, Jenkins, and Cheatham will oversee the voting process as well. Now, on to our speeches by the individual candidates. Each candidate will have an opportunity to speak. Typically, we allow each candidate to speak for about 2 minutes. We'll entertain a motion from the floor to either accept that or something else. I hear a motion. I've got a motion to accept. Here a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor vote by saying aye. Nay, same sign. The ayes have it. So it'll be 2 minutes, and there's a timer up here, so we're real strict about it. I'm teasing you. Pull you off the stage at the last second. But there is a timer here if you're wondering about where your time is. It'll be right in front of you. And Mr. Reeves, I know you've got an old football injury, I think, and we're going to allow you to speak from the floor. And I have a mic for you when we call you. Okay, we'll have the Region 1 candidates speak first. And first on my list is Mr. Horner, Larry A. Horner.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. You know you're nervous when you forget your jacket. I've been a member of the cooperative for over 30 years, and it would be an honor and a privilege for me to have the opportunity to serve the REC board. My objectives as a board member would be to continue to bring innovations and cost savings to the members. As you know, Mr. William Alphen served as a board member for 41 years. Mr. Alphen was an example of the type of dedication that the cooperative is known for, making the cooperative one of the best in Virginia. If elected, I will strive to continue this type of dedication by giving my time, my efforts to the core values of the REC. And thank you for your support.
Thank you. Next from Region 1 candidate, Mr. David M. Jones.
Good evening. I really want to thank Rappahannock Electric Co-op, its board, and of course you, the members, for having the opportunity to run for Mr. Alphen's seat. He served a long time and did a lot of good things for the co-op. I'd like to start by just talking a little bit about myself, so you can maybe get a feel for who I am and maybe where I come from and my experience. I actually grew up in Halifax County, moved later to Campbell County, which is in south central Virginia. My parents were sharecroppers, raising tobacco and beef cattle, various crops. As with any farm operation, and I'm sure there's some farmers that are probably here, and a lot of farmers are members of REC, it's a way of life. And it was basically a requirement we work 7 days a week. Except for one day called Labor Day, when my father always told us that meant we worked twice as hard that day for some reason. I don't know how long I believed that. So hard work, perseverance was a daily routine in my life as a young boy, and it stayed with me to this day. I attended Bridgewater College, go Eagles. I was very active competing in varsity sports. I had a job on campus, in addition to, of course, my studies, which was basically a double major of business and accounting. After graduation and receiving my degree, I secured a position at my current firm of Nicholas Jones and Company, located right in the middle of Culpeper. I am currently the majority owner and managing partner of that firm, so I've basically had one job my whole life, other than working in the dish room in college. My experience in that field includes, but not limited to, auditing corporate clients, tax planning and preparation for not only corporate clients but individuals, etc., budget review and preparation, done a ton of those, and CFO services. In my time And I've always felt that it's important to give back to the community, so I have been very active in the Culpeper community, having served on various boards and committees, such as, not limited to, I was chairman of the board for the Chamber of Commerce, president of the Culpeper Hospital Foundation, president of Culpeper Habitat for Humanity, and president of the Country Club of Culpeper. You'll see the diversity there. I didn't name one board that I always thought was the hardest. Two friends of ours started the Culpeper Football Association, which is the Little League Football League in Culpeper. By far the hardest board I've ever served on. As far as what I think my qualifications are, I think with my professional experiences and community service, I feel I'd be a very good asset to the board of directors and a contributing team member. It's my goal to contribute to the continued success. The co-op is a very successful organization, and keep it a strong community asset to successfully achieve its goals and meet the expectations of its members, which is the most important thing. I want to thank you for your time. I certainly ask you for your vote, and so that I can be of service to all the members of REC. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Next, from Region 1 candidate, Mr. Michael F. Murphy.
Thank you for the opportunity to share a few thoughts with you this evening. I am both humbled and honored to stand here tonight as a candidate for Region 1, representing the counties of Culpeper and Orange, as well as all members of Rappahannock Electric Cooperative. Mr. Alphen and Mr. Oliver served with both dedication and excellence. Their experience and wisdom are irreplaceable. They will be missed. Experience, combined with passion and a vision for the future, are essential elements that a director must possess to serve his or her constituents. It is my hope that, with your support and encouragement, my experience, passion, and vision will provide me with the opportunity to help guide your electric cooperative, ensuring the continuation of safe, reliable, and affordable electric service. To this end, however, we must continue our commitment to the environment. We must continue to embrace both current and emerging technologies to not only protect our environment, but to allow our cooperative family to prosper and grow. We are the future. For over 78 years, Rappahannock Electric Cooperative has been in the forefront of serving Virginians just like you, and there is still much to be done. You, the members, are the heart and soul of REC. Your voices are an essential element in the decision-making process, especially during times of challenge and change. Your passion and vision are appreciated. If selected to be a member of this esteemed board, I promise to serve you with both passion and a commitment to a sustainable future. Thank you for your time this evening. Thank you for your support, and power on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Next, Mr. Sanford Reeves, Jr. from Region 1 candidate. I'm going to do
All right. Thank you very much, sir. My name is Sanford Reeves, Jr., and first I want to say that it's definitely a privilege to stand before you and to have this opportunity to ask for your vote. I know that Mr. Oliver, who I've met only once, just seems a great man, and I know there's going to be some large shoes to fill, as well as Mr. Alphen, whose porch I sat on several evenings as I was campaigning for the Board of Supervisors in Culpeper, Virginia, and sit there with his lovely wife, and as the mosquitoes bit me, and we just talked and talked, and but I know there are going to be some large shoes to fill. But one thing I do bring, and that is that flexibility. And that flexibility from a standpoint of being self-employed. I run Sanford & Sons Construction and Sanford & Sons Janitorial Service for over the past 15 years. We're currently building a house in Culpeper, and the customer said I had to inform her that she might have Dominion Power as her power company, and instead of Rappahannock Electric. And she just almost cried. She wanted Rappahannock Electric. And I was able to tell her today that it just happens that the line runs perfectly because she's going to get Rappahannock Electric. And that would be my goal as a director, if elected, is to make sure that all members have the opportunity to have the best power service that can be offered. And what do you mean by the best power service that can be offered? This is what we live for. And I've had that opportunity to be out there and work with others to make sure that whether the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, the Planning Commission in Culpeper, I'm the chairman, currently the chairman, and been on the Planning Commission for 24 years. And I would bring all that I have to this organization, to this great board of directors, to make sure that we continue to move Rappahannock Electric further into the 21st century. I have that, I'm a family man. One thing I know how to do right is be married. And I've been married for 41 years to my lovely wife who is here with me. So I'm not a quitter. The other thing that I would like to share with you, and that is from a standpoint of that, my community involvement. And I'm a fast learner. Any of you who've been to the Federal Express location here in Fredericksburg, please realize that I was the one who was tasked to start Federal Express here in Fredericksburg. 4 vans I met here every morning and selected a building for them to go in. So I know about, as we make acquisitions and all, as I've watched Rappahannock Electric do, that you need someone who's willing to go out there and take charge and get in the community and make Rappahannock Electric known. But I want to close with this, and that is how proud I am to be a member for over 30 years with Rappahannock Electric. Not once have we sat and watched the electric stay off for days. I live pretty close to Rappahannock Electric, but that is a blessing to see those things happen. So I just want to say that if given the opportunity to be a director and to oversee Orange County as well as Culpeper County, which I am the pastor of Mount Zion Baptist Church in Locust Grove for the past 10 years, which I have a connection with Orange County, and I build houses in Orange County. And also in Culpeper County, I am familiar with the communities in both areas. So representing Region 1, I will have that opportunity to serve this region well, and I'll give it everything that I have. As I've done for my family, if being a provider, I would do the same thing for Rappahannock Electric. Thank you very much for your vote.
They teach you everything in law school except how to turn on a mic. Probably a reason for that. Thank you all, Region 1 candidates. Appreciate your service and dedication to the cooperative. Thank you all for being here this evening. Now on to our Region 4 candidates. First on my list is Anthony S. Bastianini. And Anthony, if I butchered your name, I apologize.
All right, bear with me. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tony Bastianelli, and thanks for coming out tonight. It was nice to meet many of you, and Great to be here. Welcome to Spotsylvania County. When I looked into this position, I thought I would be uniquely qualified and would be a welcome addition to the board of directors due to my technical background and my experience in the electrical field. However, as I've gone through this exercise, I've discovered a lack of transparency and an undemocratic election process. There are a lot of great things going on here at REC, but this election, for me, is not one of them. The way the proxy voting works is that you must check a box to cast the non-vote, but if you leave the ballot blank, the board members or their appointees will decide who your vote goes to. The number of these board-appointed votes, as far as I know, is unpublished. This leads to incumbents that are almost never voted out, and the positions become virtual lifetime terms for them. This is nothing REC should be proud of, as well as when incumbent board members are run unopposed. This also is nothing that REC should be proud of. As co-op members, are we really being served in this way? Is the board of directors really looking out for us, or rather each other? In the current process, the incumbent, Mr. Levasseur, should win easily by a landslide, as incumbents usually do. And I assume Mr. Murphy will win in Region 1 since he has worked closely with REC for some time. Congratulations, gentlemen. With all this being said, if you have one vote tonight, or you have hundreds of votes to cast for other people, a vote for me would be a vote to try and fix this process and return true representation to the members of our co-op. Once again, I'm Anthony Bastinelli, and thank you for your interest in this election, and happy voting.
Thank you, Mr. Bastinelli. Next from Region 4, Mr. John C. Levasseur.
Good evening. I'm John Levasseur, and I'm pleased tonight to present myself as a candidate for the Rappahannock Electric Cooperative's Region 4 Director position. I have been your director for the past 4 years. During that period of time, I've had the privilege of providing guidance and direction for your cooperative's current and future business objectives. As an REC director, I completed the National Rural Electric Cooperatives Director and Leadership Certification courses, which complemented my director education with the National Academy of Corporate Directors. My relative industry experiences span 37 years over the Bell System and AT&T. From working outside plant, cable, line, and splice, I worked to the inside developing IT billing systems and managing customer service centers. My assignments in Mississippi taught me the difficulties in managing a rural utility. I spent almost 40 years in uniform, from private to brigadier general, taking orders and then giving orders. I was fortunate that the Army entrusted me with the responsibilities and challenges of command. As an Army general officer in a combat zone, I often made critical decisions, supporting mission success and soldier welfare. I credit the Army for developing my leadership traits and my decision-making skills. The combination of my Army and AT&T careers provided me a unique balance of experiences. I brought the AT&T business experiences to the Army, and in turn, I brought the Army's decision-making process and skills back to AT&T. I take credit only for doing the successes to those two jobs, the Army and AT&T. They taught me how to deal with senior, complex level matters. These experiences I bring to the Rappahannock boardroom. Today I stand before you asking that you re-elect me to become, again, a member of the board. I have truly enjoyed representing and look forward to serving you for the next 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lavasser. Next from Region 4 candidate, Jesse R. Randy Thomas.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Randy Thomas. I'm running for the seat on the Board of Directors of Rappahannock Electric Co-op Region 4. I won't bore you with all the experience and education I have that's in our bio. What I'd like to talk to you about is a unique perspective that I think that I bring to this board. In the mid-90s, I was the insurance agent that wrote coverage for Rappahannock. It's workers' comp, auto, property, and other lines of coverage. Through that, I met so many members of the executive team and people that work here from operations through management. I understood the safety program, the accreditation, how it works. I understand transmission, distribution, and generation of electricity. Another perspective I do bring. My dad worked for a power company for 40 years. He worked in the substation department for Virginia Power, and he answered the bell in the middle of the night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday, and holidays. I know what it's like to watch an employee disappear from your family for 4 or 5 days. I was in school, I was in college, and Dad would be gone. So I understand the commitment that these employees make and this co-op makes to us as members to keep the power on for us, to keep the lights on, the water warm, our air conditioning. I can't be prouder of Rappahannock Electric from the folks that I've met over the years, and I'd be proud to serve you as members. I also now have time. I've been very fortunate that I have 2 wonderful children now in college, and I have the support of my wife to give the time to serve the members and serve the employees of Rappahannock Electric. Thank you, and I appreciate your support with your vote tonight. Have a good evening. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Thank you all to all our Region 4 candidates. How about a big hand of applause for all our candidates? Okay, now explanation of the voting process, including the ballots and proxies. Voting ballots have been prepared so those who are present today may vote along with the members who are represented by proxy, by their proxy. Member registration closed at 6:45 p.m. this evening. For purposes of proxies, I will start by reading the names of those who have been appointed to vote as proxies for members who could not be here today. If your name is called, please stand up and remain standing until an employee brings the proxy packet to you. Proxies appointed to individuals other than board members are as follows. Anthony S. Bastianini, Jesse R. Randy Thomas, Kent D. Farmer, Michael F. Murphy, Ophelia Scott, Sanford Reeves, Jr. No, it'll be out of order. So at this point in time, this is the voting process. If you have a question about the voting, we can answer that. But right at this moment in time, this is about moving forward with the votes. Member ballots. Each member who came in and registered prior to registration closing, again at 6:45 p.m., received his or her personal member ballot. The ballot for director election is orange, and it is in your green transparent folder. For those of you who registered, you should have that. If you don't, please let us know. Please get your voting ballot out, and ballot collectors will come by and collect your ballot. So please vote. For proxy holders, for those who received a proxy ballot, you have been designated as a proxy by one or more members authorizing you to cast their vote. The proxy form allows members to mark their candidates of choice so that the proxy may cast the members' vote accordingly. These votes are recorded as designated proxies and appear in the right column. If the member did not indicate his or her candidate choice, you, as the proxy holder, decide whom to vote for. Please mark the box for the candidate of your choice. Remember, you can only vote for one candidate. Please make sure your voting ballots are marked clearly, and please remember you must sign your proxy ballot in order for it to be valid. Ballots are now being collected. Thank you, everyone. Election results will soon be announced, either at the end of the business session or, if they're not tallied at that point, on our webpage. Have we collected all ballots? Do we have all ballots collected? Sterling, we're good? Thank you, everyone, for your participation in the election. As I stated earlier, the election results will be announced at the end of the meeting, or if the count is not completed by then, it'll be put on our website for your review. And again, that website is www.myrec.coop. myrec.coop. Ann's going to get me for that one, I guarantee it. Madam Chair, that concludes our election. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Charlie, and thank you all the candidates for your participation. Good luck to everyone. Throughout 2016, the board continued to govern the business of the cooperative in a manner that's most beneficial to the members. It is the mission of the cooperative to enhance the lives of our members and communities we serve by providing safe, reliable, and affordable electric service as good stewards of our environment. REC's strategic planned initiatives approved by the board set the direction of the organization to ensure that our financial obligations are met, there are adequate investments in system growth and maintenance to ensure members have reliable service and receive patronage capital assignments annually, as well as returning the margins to the members through capital credits. Over the past year, these initiatives resulted in many accomplishments, and here are just a few. In 2016, $3.3 million was returned to our members through estate and general retirements of capital credits. And since 1980, a total of $376,313 have been returned to our members. Nearly 2,500 new services were added, bringing the total connections of Rappahannock Electric Cooperative to over 164,000. Your cooperative implemented technology to improve nearly every aspect of our members' online experience, including the new Smart Hub, which I hope you're all taking advantage of, mobile applications which allow members to easily perform a wide range of functions at home, and you can do this with your laptops, your smartphones, your tablets. So we want to make life easier for you all who love technology. We've reached a milestone of over 15,000 participants in the Power of a Change through Operation Roundup. Our employees participated in 293 community events during the year, such as safety demonstrations, parades, community events, chambers of commerce, events in every imaginable way. If we're called upon, we try to be there to make a presentation or be present for you. And my hats are off to the employees who are always there to serve our members, and we really appreciate it and thank you. I can't say enough about the wonderful employees that we have. Our Co-op Connections program is a favorite with bargain shoppers, now has over 250 local businesses participating, and our members have saved over $2 million on prescriptions using the Co-op Connections card. Your cooperative will continue to be the best we can be for our members. Our commitment to you extends beyond keeping the lights on. We will continue to explore new strategies and innovative technologies that will benefit members while always keeping in forefront our basic commitment to you. I look upon the past year with a great deal of pride for this cooperative, its accomplishments, pride for all the employees so dedicated to you, the members, and I look to the future with great enthusiasm. I have appreciated the opportunity to serve, to work on your behalf. I again thank you for your time being here tonight. Your board looks forward to being in your communities, working for you as your advocate and your trusted electricity provider. I will now turn the lectern to our treasurer, Michael Lindsay of Frederick County. He will present the 2016 audited financial statistics indicating the strength of your cooperative. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Michael?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone, and thank all of you for attending this evening, and welcome to those who are joining us on our live stream on the web tonight. Welcome. My name is Mike Lindsay. I've been on this board for about 7 years, and I have the honor of serving as your treasurer for this year. The Board of Directors is pleased to inform you that Rappahannock Electric Cooperative continued its strong tradition of financial performance in 2016. I'll go through some of the highlights of the year, and if anyone has any questions, myself, Mr. Farmer, or our staff will be available to answer any questions you may have. Revenue in 2016 was $418 million, which was about $43 million less than the previous year. The main driver of the revenue decrease was some reduced electrical load in the past year. 63% of our revenue came from our residential members. The remainder came from commercial members, with a small amount from public buildings. Total expenses were $412 million for the year. Total expenses were down in 2016, mainly due to a decrease in the cost of power. And 70% of our expenses were to purchase power. That's $291 million. That is a significant amount of money, and your management team spends a great deal of time and effort to control this cost. When you subtract expenses from revenue, you're left with margins. Total margins are composed of operating and non-operating margins. Operating margins in 2016 were $5.6 million, down 32.5% from 2015. Non-operating margins totaled $9.4 million. Most of the non-operating margins were the result of patronage capital from Old Dominion Electric Cooperative, our generation and transmission cooperative. Total margins for 2016 were $15 million. Each year, margins are allocated to your capital credits in the following year. 2016 margins of $15 million will be allocated this year. Margins will be distributed proportionally to members across all classes of membership. 77% will go to our residential members, 11% to large commercial, 10% to small commercial. The remaining 2% will be assigned to other member groups such as public buildings and outdoor lighting. In 2016, REC returned $3.3 million to its member owners through estate and general retirements of capital credits. A general retirement is based on the accumulated value of capital credits assigned to your account since you first became a member of the cooperative. Since its formation in 1980, your cooperative has returned over $90 million. Think $90 million to its members. Rappahannock Electric Cooperative completed 2016 in a strong financial position. Thank you all very much. It is an honor to serve on this board, and it's an honor to serve as your treasurer. Thanks, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Next on our agenda is the President's report. Mr. Farmer.
Thank you, Charlie. Just a couple of additional words. First of all, I'd like to offer my appreciation to all of the candidates for the Board of Directors. We appreciate your interest in our organization, and regardless of the results tonight, we hope you will continue to be interested and advocates for your cooperative. So again, thank you all very much. Every year when we survey you folks after the annual meeting, we always ask for your comments and your feedback. And inevitably, the number one comment on those surveys is reduce the amount of speeches or the time associated with the speeches. So I'm going to try to honor your request tonight. Mrs. Carpenter has given a lot of the updates on the accomplishments that we made during 2016. Mr. Lindsay gave an update on the finances of your cooperative. And so there are just a couple of things I want to talk with you about tonight. Some of you may recall last year when I stood here, I talked about a rate increase that was going to be put into effect, we hoped, sometime around mid-2017. Well, most of you, or hopefully all of you, realize that rate increase never took effect. And there's a reason for that. One, and perhaps the most important reason, was that your management team, supported by your board of directors, felt like that we could go through one more year without the additional revenue, which is obvious from our financial report. We were able to do that. The second reason, though, that we deferred the rate increase to filing to this year had to do with the technology investments that we were making. Most of you recall, as Mrs. Carpenter pointed out, we switched our billing and customer interaction software and computer systems this year. We didn't feel like that it was appropriate to try to adjust our rates at the same time we were going through the implementation of a new billing system. So again, we deferred on putting those rates into effect. But just to stir your memory a little bit, I wanted to touch on those rates that we have filed with the Virginia State Corporation Commission for. As you all know, we are a regulated utility. We're regulated by the Virginia State Corporation Commission. So before we can adjust any of our rates, we have to do a complete filing with those folks. They are responsible for making sure that our rates to you are just and reasonable. We do our filing, they come in, they audit our books and make sure that everything that we've included in that filing is accurate and correct, and again, that the rates that we are applying for, or the changes that we are applying for, are just and reasonable. I want to touch on several of those changes that will be implemented assuming that the Commission approves our rate application. First is the customer charge. That's the top line of your bill. It's currently $10. Every customer pays that. And the intent of that customer charge is to pay for basically the poles, the wires, a lot of the things that go along with the distribution of electricity. Well, as a lot of you know, our sales have been down for the last couple of years. Part of that's due to technology. We've got a lot of customers who are installing solar panels, and as a result, they're using less kilowatt hours. As a result of them using less kilowatt hours, though, they're paying less to the co-op. Part of what they're paying for, however, hasn't decreased. Again, the distribution service. So with the advent of more folks going to distributed energy or solar panels or whatever other type of renewable energy that they may have, we have increased or asked the Commission to allow us to increase that $10 customer charge to $20. That way, all customers end up paying for the services that are needed in order to deliver electricity. Because even those that do have renewables that they are using for themselves, they don't run all the time. So the central station power, it has to back that up when it's not available. That way we're making sure that everybody is paying for their fair share. The flip side of that, though, is by increasing that customer charge, we were able to reduce the kilowatt hour charge. So hopefully the net effect of what you will pay, assuming the Commission approves our rate increase, is just slightly more than what you are currently paying. And quite frankly, what we're paying for electricity today is considerably cheaper than what we paid for electricity 5 years ago. The reason for that primarily are wholesale power costs. Wholesale power costs have come down, thank goodness. That is a result of natural gas and the additional discoveries that we've made of that and how we've been able to utilize that to generate power over the last several years. As a matter of fact, Old Dominion reduced its cost of power to Rappahannock 3 separate times during 2016. All of those reductions are passed directly through to you all as members. Whatever we are billed for wholesale power, and as Mr. Lindsay pointed out in his treasurer's report, that represents 70% of our total cost. That is a direct pass-through. The remaining 30% that we collect from you goes to cover all of the other expenses associated with the distribution and the delivery of that electricity. That's primarily labor and materials. Those costs have continued to go up. So by making the adjustments that we are asking for in our rate application, it will continue to make sure that we are allocating those costs to each of our customer classes in an appropriate allocation so that everybody is paying their fair share. An additional thing that we are doing with this rate application is we're going to seasonal rates. Now you might ask, well, what are seasonal rates? Seasonal rates means that there will be a difference in what you pay for some months of the year than others. The majority of our cost of power is driven by what we use during the summer. As a result of that, we are increasing the kilowatt hour charge for everything over 800 kilowatt hours in the summer months. There will be an offsetting reduction in the winter months. So the net effect is that we will be collecting the same amount of revenue, but again, what we're trying to do is send you all the appropriate price signals so that you can help us hold down our power cost. We installed over 10,000 air conditioning switches during 2016. And thank you all, members, who have allowed us to put one of those switches on your air conditioning. Those 10,000 members are helping all of us keep our rates low. Those switches are in addition to the 30-some thousand water heater switches that we have that we also use to help control peak periods of power pricing. So again, rates in the summer are going to be a little higher because we want to encourage you to be more efficient in that time period. That will help us save money and help keep our rates low. It also provides additional margins. You noticed our operating margins were down this year. Again, margins come primarily from operations. And so by increasing these revenues, it's going to allow us to return more capital credits to you all on an annual basis. And what that does, it keeps it fair for those folks who've been members for 30 years compared to those folks who've only been members for 3 years. The 30-year member has got more of an investment in the co-op. They've invested over that longer term than the newer member. The return of capital credits based on the credits that you've earned annually over the years means that the members who've been on the system longest, who've contributed the most, will be able to get more of that investment back sooner rather than later. So those are the three primary elements associated with the rate application. Again, at the end of the day, we are hopeful that you will end up paying approximately the same that you're paying today. We're increasing the distribution charge, but we're decreasing the wholesale power cost. Along with the reductions in wholesale power, the investments that we've made in some of our new technologies has also allowed us to eliminate some charges that I know a lot of you really weren't happy with. Anytime a member wanted to pay their electric bill with a credit card, we got charged by the credit card company. So we passed that charge on to our customers. Through the new software and computer systems that we've installed, i.e. the Smart Hub, we've been able to eliminate that charge. So if you pay with your credit card, there will no longer be an additional charge associated with that. Back to wholesale power, again, 70% of our total cost. I introduced one of the members of Old Dominion Electric Cooperative early. Rappahannock, along with 10 other electric cooperatives, 8 in Virginia in addition to Rappahannock, 1 in Maryland and 1 in Delaware, own Old Dominion Electric Cooperative. They are our generation and transmission co-op. Through Old Dominion, we own parts of both of the nuclear stations at North Anna. We own a coal-fired station down in Halifax County, and we have several peaking facilities that are operated by both gas and oil, depending on whichever is the cheapest at the time. We're also in the process of building a new combined cycle natural gas plant up in Cecil County, Maryland. We're hopeful that that plant will be coming online sometime later this fall. But those assets will enable Rappahannock to provide you folks with electricity prices long into the future that hopefully will be better than what you could get on the market. We are very proud of the work that we do with Old Dominion. Old Dominion has also invested significantly over the last year in solar power. A lot of you have told us you would like to have access to renewable, but some of you might not be able to install solar panels on your roof, or you may not have enough yard big enough to put them in. Through this investment that we're doing with Old Dominion, with solar panels, we will be able later to offer you all to invest in those solar panels. It's slightly higher today than what our regular power is, but not significant. So again, for those of you all who are interested in renewable resources, we'll have those available for you. And then finally, I'd just like to talk one more thing about Old Dominion I did want to mention. Jack Reeser. Jack has been the CEO at Old Dominion for approximately the last 20 years. Well, this year at our Old Dominion annual meeting in July, Jack announced that he's going to be retiring. So your board of directors at Old Dominion is in the process of doing an executive search for a replacement for Jack. That's going to be, his will be hard shoes to fill, but we're excited about the process. There are a lot of folks already interested in it, and we'll be reporting more to you on that in our Cooperative Living magazine. The last thing I wanted to talk about today was change. The changes that we see taking place in our industry are unimaginable, quite frankly. I've been doing this for 38 years. And each year I have to apologize to the board because I said last year that things were changing more than ever before. But that continues to happen each and every year. Your cooperative is keeping up with that technology vis-a-vis the new computer systems that we installed earlier. The investment that we're making in solar technology and other renewables, the investments that we're making in our plant so that if a tree falls on the line that may be serving your house, we'll have the ability perhaps to backfeed that so that we minimize the amount of time that you're without power. Those are just some of the changes that we're dealing with from a technological perspective. You also have distributed generation resources where a private company may come in and build a solar farm next to your house. We're purchasing those when they make sense for us to do it. But because of that, we're having to reconfigure how we distribute our electricity. Because typically it comes from a large central source, just carried through the transmission network down to our substations, and then from our substations through our distribution network to your home. With distributed generation, that's no longer the case. We may have, in addition to those large generating plants, small facilities that we've also got to figure out how to take that power into our system and distribute it safely, reliably, and fairly. Microgrids. It's a term that I, quite frankly, wasn't familiar with until a couple of years ago. But it's building grids, small grids, in neighborhoods or subdivisions that may be served by a solar field or some other form of distributed generation. And then lastly, broadband. Rural America is suffering. We're seeing an out-migration of our children to urban areas. We're seeing an out-migration of our commercial, industrial customers that build the jobs for us. And a lot of that is driven by the fact that they don't have access to high-speed internet. I have been beating this drum for the last decade, or maybe even a little longer than that. Rappahannock Electric is not interested in being your internet service provider per se, but we are interested in being a player in facilitating that we get high-speed internet into our rural areas. We're installing fiber on our electric network today because we're using that fiber to communicate information from your home to our substations back to our office and vice versa. We can install larger fiber and make that available to third parties to provide you with internet service, high-speed internet service. But we keep getting in our own way. The cable companies and the telephone companies see this as perhaps us trying to get into their business, taking their revenue. That's not the case at all. If they will do it, we'll help them do that. But the bottom line, folks, is it's uneconomic. Just like electricity was uneconomic back in the 1930s. Now, you might ask, well, why don't you take the same format, the same concept of the electric co-op and do that for internet service? Well, we can, some of it. But there are so many differences in telecommunications and electric service, not the least of which telecommunications equipment is turning over about every 3 to 5 years. We've still got wires and poles that we set out there 50 years ago. So we've been able to depreciate those investments over that period of time, which keeps our rates low. You can't do the same thing from the telecommunications side. So in order to make it affordable to you, it's going to take investments on the part of our federal government, our state governments, and even our local governments. Again, we stand ready to work with any of the parties to try to help deliver high-speed broadband service to our membership and across our service territory. So our commitment will continue along those lines because we recognize that ultimately, for all of our benefit, we need to have that part of our infrastructure. Your annual report this year talks about smart and efficient, progressing with you. Customer expectations have changed. People that live in the rural area, if they had a power outage that lasted for more than a couple of days, they said, well, that's normal. We're used to that. Not anymore. And thankfully, we've gotten a whole lot better in getting your power back on when it does go off. And that's due to again, as your chairman spoke, to the dedicated services of all of the employees at Rappahannock Electric Cooperative. These are the people, not just linemen. The linemen get a lot of the credit, and they're the ones that deserve a lot of the credit because they're the ones that are hiking the poles in the middle of the night, in the middle of the snowstorm, to get you back on. But for every lineman that we've got out there, we've got somebody sitting in the office too, taking your call, trying to assure you that we're going to get your power back on as quick as we can. I would just like to take 1 second and ask each of you to please give the employees of Rappahannock Electric Cooperative a round of applause because they work their butts off for you folks every day. And my final message, and I know I went longer than I was supposed to, so I apologize. your board of directors and all of your employees are engaged in addressing these changes that we're dealing with and making decisions that are smart and efficient as we progress with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Farmer. I was wondering why Sharon told me they only give you 2 minutes. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is unfinished business, and I don't believe there is any unfinished business from last year's annual meeting, so we'll move on to new business. And during the new business section, we will take questions from the members from the floor. We ask that raise your hand, I'll recognize you. We'll get you a mic, state your name and where you live. Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. My name is Jack Manzari. We own a 400-acre farm, cow-calf, and I want to thank Mr. Farmer and Mr. President for his leadership and the board for their leadership. And I want to make 4 very brief comments. As a segue to your last comment about thanking the staff, I want you to hear and the staff to hear that operating a farm frequently calls for your service. We have 5 meters on the farm, and within the last 2 weeks, Stewart School stopped out and found a break in our electric line, a short circuit, had it fixed. The feeding facility now has electricity. Within the last 3 months, John Arp interfaced with us. We're installing solar from Segura out of Charlottesville, and he introduced us to the agricultural aggregated meter program. And our farm will be run, our private residence will be run by solar. And we're very thankful for the aggregated agricultural meter program. And lastly, of the first set of comments, we installed the ECHO-B program last December, November, and found out that we didn't have any heat in December and November because ECHO-B is a Canadian company, and they don't understand Virginia weather, and they certainly didn't understand our geothermal unit. And thanks to one of your employees, our heat came back on in December, and we were able to get a new heating and air conditioning company that understood geothermal and ECHO-B. Secondly, I want to thank you for plentiful, safe, cost-effective energy. If you know anything about cost per kilowatt hours, California is probably triple ours, and we thank you for that. But when we installed the solar, installing the solar system, the company predicted a tripling of the rate within the decade. I wonder, as a third question, whether we have a strategic plan that talks about how we're going to handle a tripling of the expense for the cost of electricity. And lastly, I wasn't going to talk about this. Internet connectivity and speed. You have hit the nail on the head. We have a satellite, very poor connectivity. It impacts the quality of life and the economics of rural communities, and we don't seem to be doing a lot about it. There was a ad in our local newspaper saying that a candidate for the Board of Supervisors talked to Rappahannock, talked to Central Virginia, and talked to another cooperative, and the other cooperative is investing $20 million in terms of connectivity. What is the discussion bid with the Board of Supervisors of Louisa and other counties, and what can we look forward to, and particularly the strategic plan?
Thank you, Dr. Manzari. Yes is the answer to your question relative to our strategic plan looking forward. Our strategic plan goes out roughly 5 years, and I will assure you that there is not a tripling of your electric service rate in that forecast. And we are doing everything that we can to keep your electricity affordable. But one of the things that, to his point, that drives the price up is this influx of renewable. Because, again, it produces energy for us. And obviously, there's no cost of the fuel of the sun. There's no cost associated with the fuel for wind. But there is significant cost associated with the assets that it takes to provide that power. But as I mentioned earlier, the sun doesn't shine all the time, nor does the wind blow all the time. So until we develop storage to be able to store the resources that are produced from renewables, we've still got to have those fossil fuel power plants to provide power when those times occur. And so that in and of itself, the fact that you've got the investment associated in those renewable assets that doesn't completely offset the investment that you've got in a fossil fuel plant is what causes those prices to go up. But we're working really hard to mitigate that. There are some interesting technologies being developed for the storage of electricity. Today, right now, it's not affordable. It's available, but it's not affordable. Hopefully, as more research, more investment is done, we'll drive those prices down to where we'll be able to take advantage of it. So I don't see near term those types of increases. But I can assure you that whatever those increases are, your staff at REC, supported by the Board of Directors, will be doing everything we can to keep them as low as we possibly can. So thank you for your comments. Internet. We have tried to work with Louisa County. We have tried to work with several of our other counties who are also interested. And unfortunately, what we're finding is that everybody wants it, but nobody wants to pay for it. And what we are trying to do is say, we're willing to commit our expertise, our aerial assets, to helping facilitate this. We're willing to work with the local governments, but at the end of the day, we've got to get the federal government and the state government to help fund it. If we can do that, I think we will ultimately address the issue. Just recently, I think the state of Virginia has recognized that without high-speed internet, our rural communities are again losing population. They're losing businesses. Well, we depend, folks, as you all know, I'm preaching to the choir here a little bit, we need our rural communities to be effective. We need them to be vibrant because they provide so much from an agriculture perspective, from a forestry perspective, of everything that each of us needs each and every day. So we've got to look out for our rural communities, and one of the ways of doing that is job force training, access to high-speed internet. And we're working every day. As a matter of fact, I've had meetings with both of our new gubernatorial candidates, Ed Gillespie and Ralph Northam. And both of them, you will be pleased to know, have a rural broadband initiative in their campaign going forward. Where that may go, we don't know, but we're continuing to apply the pressure where we can. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Kathleen Pfeiffer, is that on? Okay. 4423 Chopping Road in Mineral, Virginia. I just want to add on to what Jack had said. I've been attending meetings in Louisa County, and everybody wants it, but nobody wants to pay for it, okay? And my suggestion was that they get individual groups together and sort of, I guess, a mini co-op or something to entice a company to provide it to that particular area, because they want it, but nobody wants to pay for it. Okay?
Thank you very much for your comment. And again, we're trying. We are doing everything we can. I remind you all, though, who don't remember, we worked very closely with a company called Virginia Broadband back several years ago to try to help facilitate this process. Excuse me. That didn't turn out real well, and we ended up losing almost $1 million trying to make that work. Well, we recognize that every dollar we invest is a dollar out of your pocket. And we don't like making investments of your money that we're not pretty comfortable that are going to bring to fruition why we're investing. We also, again, are a regulated utility, which means that we can't charge our electric service customers extra to fund these other projects that we do. So we have to do that very wisely and efficiently. Again, our investments in broadband are going to be smart and efficient. Thank you for your comment. Other questions?
Have you considered the use of drones to inspect your power lines for tree clearance, and also after storm damage? Drone might be very good. Check for storm damage, trees on your line and whatnot, even when the roads are blocked by fallen trees.
Without a doubt. His question was, are we considering the use of drones or unmanned aircraft to inspect our lines, either for maintenance or after storms? And the answer to your question is yes, sir. As a matter of fact, we are working with one of our business partners, Lockheed Martin. That hopefully is a familiar name to a lot of you all. They are very much in the flight aerospace in addition to computer technology. We've got a demonstration scheduled for later this fall for them to demonstrate some fixed wing drones that we could use to inspect our lines. And we've also, quite frankly, been taking advantage of the use of drones to get some aerial photos of our Get Connected conferences and other things as well. So yes, sir, we are taking advantage of that new technology. Thank you for your question. Others? This is your opportunity, folks. I may not have an answer for you, but I will at least note that the question and make sure we get you answers either in our Cooperative Living magazine, or if you give me your name and address, I'll make sure that we respond to you either in writing, a snail mail letter, or an email. So, well, again, thank you all very much for being here. It is our pleasure to serve you, and that is all that we're about, folks. You all are our owners as well as our customers. So we recognize that in everything that we do, whether it's investing your dollars or making sure we're keeping your lights on and your rates low. Thank you all for being here. And have a safe trip home.
Thank you, Mr. Farmer. Now, guess we've got a few things to announce, and then we can adjourn. First, which I'm sure everyone's very excited about, is announcing the winners of tonight's door prize. The first being a $250 bill credit, and I believe, Sterling, you need to be here to win it. Is that correct? Okay. And the winner is Lou Ellen Tejada. Are you here, Lou Ellen? All right, congratulations. And then the winner of the grand prize, the $500 credit, and you don't have to be here for that, is Samuel Henderson. Samuel, congratulations. Now, you guys turn that air conditioning right on up now, all right? Okay, we do have the results from the election. I'm going to announce those now. For Region 1, representing Orange and Culpeper counties, Sanford Reeves Jr. is the winner. Congratulations. For Region 4, representing Spotsylvania County, Jesse Randy Thomas is the winner. Congratulations. That's it for the agenda. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Got a second? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you all and have a great evening.